च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते मूढजैः धनागमतृष्णा मूढजैः धनागमतृष्णा कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णा कुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णा यल्लभसे निज कर्मोपातं यल्लभसे निज कर्मोपातं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते।
Good evening, Hari Om, Namaskar. A very warm welcome to each one of you. Please come, let's pray together. असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम तत्सत् श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। O Lord, the Almighty, who carry the divine names Vyalayah, Pratyayah, to such a Lord, together we all offer our humble salutations to seek your grace, your mercy, your blessings, your strength, your love, your compassion, your forgiveness, Shraddha, Bhakti, Jnana and Vairagya. We beseech in you to please bestow upon all of us these divine qualities and make this divine knowledge a living reality in all our lives. And at the end of our journey, please bless us that we reach your divine abode. Om Tat Sat. Our humble salutations to the entire Guru Parampara and gratitude. Today we are on our Divine Discourse number 188, the 23rd of February 2021. Sharvarinama Samvatsara, Uttarayana, Shishira Rutu, Maghamas, Shukla Paksh, Ekadashi, Ardhra Nakshatra, Ayushman Yoga, Vishti Karani. On this auspicious day of Tuesday and the time of the evening, we all make a firm resolve that everything which is happening in our lives is only at your behest and order, which we humbly and graciously accept. We once again seek your grace and blessings, O Lord. Shri Vishnu Preranaya Shri Vishnu Prityartam. Naham Karta Hari Karta. Om Tat Sat. A warm welcome to all who have just logged in. Good evening. So, in the previous two sessions, we learnt of one very important shlok, which is about whatever you do as karma in this world, what kind of effects does it have on our future lives? So where we understood that if you go on accumulating punya as a virtuous person, as a noble person, and indeed an extremely good human being, it again brings you back to the world of immortality, to the world of mortality, where there is death. The reason is because you have attained punya by doing good deeds, now the Lord will bestow upon you a better life where there is more of joy, happiness, comfort, and good things. Now, one may say, then this is good for us. What is the problem in such a life? But the problem is, which many learned people or noble souls, they dread to have this life. Reason is, in such a life, when there is so much of good things happening, that particular jiva's mind rarely goes towards the Lord. Meaning, it is stuck with the materialistic pleasures and happenings of the world. Then you fail to do good things, maybe, and you are neither pursuing the spiritual path nor you are doing good things in this world. Then again your sanchita karma, your stack load of karma done in the past, that will fructify, and it may become so pathetic that one may not get a human life again. So in this context, what we got to learn was, swap this punya, do all the good what you can, do japa, do tap, do pilgrimages, do charity, gain all that punya and offer it back to the Lord. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Swap it with Lord giving you that chitta shuddhi and ekagrata in your life, the required amount of vairagya and sharanagati, surrender to the Lord, and using all these combination, attain the highest worlds ever possible, which even the devatas envy the humans for. So this is the importance of the previous shloka. So please be watchful and careful. Whatever you are doing is at His behest, and whatever we have done is for His love. Okay, now having understood that, now we'll move to the next verse. This is the 18th verse. After giving us a bit of a great jnana or reckoning, opening for us, now he talks about vairagya. dispassion, because this is a very important component on the spiritual path. Let us see now what he has to say over here. Suramandira taru मूल निवासः शय्या भूतल मजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः सर्वपरिग्रह भोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. Now, let's understand the straight, direct meaning of this verse. Staying or sheltering in temples or under some trees, sleeping on the naked ground, and for clothing wearing probably a deer skin. Such a person who has renounced all idea of possession and even the liking or thirst to enjoy anything in life, to whom will not such a kind of dispassion or vairagya in life not bring happiness? So in other words, he's saying that if one has cultivated a great amount of vairagya or dispassion in life, whatever be his status. Now here they are comparing to the worst of the situations in terms of one's possessions and interest for enjoyment. One need not go to that level. If you have to really have vairagya, that has to be in your mind. As we have learnt in the previous shlokas, where there are people who are posing themselves to be a great sannyasi, but all the time their mind is only thinking of the worldly achievements and enjoyments. So he says what is important is that dispassion has to be in your mind. Maybe you are seated in the best of or most luxurious places. That does not matter. But the point is in the mind. Where he spoke in verse 14 about a hypocrite, as they call Veshadhari. He was just portraying himself. That is a great sannyasi, a great scholar, a great sadhu, yogi, but nothing was there truly in his mind. So he alerts us. He says, if you are a true vairagi in life, then he says, happiness is at your feet. You want happiness, isn't it? Renounce and rejoice. Our Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda used to say, renounce, and then you automatically will rejoice, because there is no fear of losing anything in life. You have completely given up, renounced everything. And now we are all grihasthas. So what is the meaning of giving up? It's not that you have to give up everything physically. No. You have to give up mentally, which means there is no attachment to any object, person, or situation. That's all. Giving up is everything in the mind, not externally. And what does this giving up mean? If that thing is not there with you anymore, it should not disturb you even a wee bit. That is the right giving up, whatever it may be. As we spoke of an object, a person, or a situation. Not there, nothing to worry. And we talk about, oh, how is it possible for a grahastha to give up in life? It's quite a normal reaction. Now, let me give you an example. Each and every soul which has taken birth as a human and also as a non-human, meaning it could even be an animal or a bird, insect, reptile, have got this dispassion inbuilt within them. It is only that we are not tapping it. Now I'll give a beautiful example over here. Think of a young mother, a young lady who has just given birth to a child. Now for that child, the most important possession for that mother is the child. Her entire attention, her entire energies, her entire focus is only and only on the child. Now the child is a few months old, that's all. For such a young mother, when there is so much of attachment towards the child, as night sets in, at one point of time, the mother, she goes off to sleep. And in her sleep, she enters a deep sleep as well, because she is tired. Well, I do accept that not that mothers would get that adequate 6 hours or 7 or 8 hours of non-stop sleep. No, I'm not talking of that situation. I very well understand. It could be even that half an hour or 1 hour or 2 hours of sleep a young mother would get, where the baby is next to her, where she had not even set her eyes off the baby for more than a minute. Even such a mother, very effortlessly, she goes off into deep sleep, forgetting even that baby, forgetting her body, forgetting herself, her baby, the world, the family, the place wherever she is residing. Everything she forgets. This is a sign of Vairagya. Maybe it has come for a small moment, but it is always there in us. So this dispassion towards the world, unless and until it sets in to a decent amount in one's life, a person will not be able to progress on the spiritual path. For the simple reason that the world will be again and again attracting him. And that is the power of Maya. So here, let's understand more about this dispassion. Okay. So, a secret is hidden. What we need to grasp in this central teaching of this verse. Now, let's look at what is the reason for our sorrow in life. We'll just take an example. We all undergo sorrow now and then. There are three main things which are the reason for sorrow. A, the desire to enjoy things. And if it doesn't happen, you are unhappy. Desire to possess things. If it is not coming your way, you're unhappy. Third is you have a desire to accumulate things. You want more business, more money, you want more bank balance, everything more you want to accumulate. And now if you see the common factor for all these three major things which are a result for sorrow is desire. So a person who does not have desire for any of these things will obviously be contented. That is what is shown in this verse here. Because he's given up that desire. He's dispassionate. His contentment will be overflowing, spilling around. Whoever goes near him will also feel that contentment. And that is what we call as a strong aura. And this practice of Vairagya takes you towards nothing but happiness. Now let's understand. There is a difference between Vairagya, dispassion, and also Tyaga. Tyaga is giving up, sacrificing. Now these are all subtle things. So let's have an understanding. Now giving up or Tyaga is when you don't experience an object willfully, or you restrict your mind from thinking about an object. Like I don't eat sweets even though kept in front of me, and even though I like sweets, what I've done, I've put a restriction on myself. Or I don't eat food on a particular day because I am observing a fast. That is a sacrifice. Here, even though you desire with mind and senses control, you have given up. Because the desire is there. Mind and senses have been controlled. That is Shama and Dama. But Vairagya is definitely much higher. Here there is no desire at all. Desire is plucked at the root level by practicing dosha drushti. You have seen defects in various things which you want to give up, and you have given it up. Here the sadhak, he neither has a desire to have an object nor he thinks about it. Like for example, if someone brings you sweets and you have no desire or thought about it, this is Vairagya. Where you're not trying to externally control as we do in a fast or when we have taken a vrat. No external control. You have completely abandoned. You have become dispassionate about it. Dharma virati santosha krupa. When actions are done with dharma and viveka, such a person is a benefactor of Krupa of the Lord. This is the result. What happens when you have that dispassion? Let there be wealth, let there be surplus, let there be everything flowing around you, but you are unconcerned. If it is there, yes. If it is not there, no problem. See, these are once you understand a subject and you have prepared your mind that I need to follow on these lines, then things start getting easy. And who is a real yogi? A real yogi who has practiced Vairagya, for him, happiness or Anand is ever present state. It becomes your natural state because there is nothing to disturb you. We saw how desire it was a common factor in three things majorly. Now, whether he gets something, he doesn't get something, he's not bothered. So, if one says a person is unhappy and he is a great sadhak or a yogi, it is a false projection of oneself. Reason is, if you are dispassionate, then happiness is automatically at your doorstep. Like if you say, I have lit a lamp in my room and you see that there is darkness in the room, that means the lamp is false, or what you are talking is false. Because if a lamp is lit, the room should be filled with light. So if one considers or lives like as they're talking, as the earth, which is his bed, and the sky is his cover, like a bed sheet covered on him. And if joy is pouring out of you always, that is the true sign that you are a Vairagi. And you might have long matted hair, tonsured head, you may be wearing saffron clothes, not wearing, living in the Himalayan caves, meditating on the banks of Ganga. All this may not be there. You may be living in a posh place. But if you are not joyful and peaceful, then all this spiritual practice is nothing but a hoax. You may look like gold, but actually you are brass. So these are the things where we can test our own self. Where do we stand on the spiritual path? Anywhere you feel that sorrow is coming to your mind, then dispassion is the cause. There is no other reason to be unhappy in life. You are unhappy only because you are attached to a certain person, object, situation, which did not happen the way you want, and you are getting again and again unhappy. One has to live in such a way that this body and mind, this is another great secret which I am talking to you. Please bear this in mind. This body and mind is born out of the Prakriti and Purusha. To experience its prarabdha karma, which is coming as a result of the sanchita karma. Prarabdha is which is in motion, like the dividends which come or the interest which is coming, and sanchita is like the capital, where you have a bundle, huge bundle of millions and millions of lives where I have accumulated papa and punya. Now, bear one thing in mind, that like as we have a debit and credit, it knocks off. Debit is reduced by the amount of credit you have, and you have a net credit. No. For all the bad deeds one has done, he has to experience misery, and for all the good deeds, he has to experience punya. Not that if you have 100 punya and 50 pap, you will be left with the net effect of 50 punya, and you will only get 50 units of happiness or good things in life. No, you will get 100 good things, and you will also get 50 units of misery and sadness. So you have to just say that this body and mind is created out of that Purusha and Prakriti. I am not the Karta. It is just happening. Whatever is happening at the behest of the Lord. You are not the Karta, but you are a witness of that Karta. If you feel that you are doing something, then you are back to that Jivatva, and by that Jivatva or that sense of doership, you are back into Sansar. So now, dal badal, as we say, shift yourself from the Jivatva to the Paramatma Tattva. Become a pure witness. And for reaching this stage of pure witness, or for this non-kartaship, what we are talking, a non-doership, one needs a good amount of dispassion, that is vairagya. Once a person starts practicing this particular path where everything is happening because of the power of the Lord, in 3 places of the Bhagavad Gita, in 3 chapters, Lord openly says that whatever is happening in a person's life is only because of the 3 gunas and the consciousness. 3rd chapter, 27th shloka, 13th chapter, 29th shloka, and again in the 14th chapter, he talks about 19th verse, 14th chapter. He talks about everything is ordained by me, that is the Lord, and whatever good and bad this jiva has done, because it has that ownership. So I say, okay, you enjoy. If you have done good, you enjoy good, you enjoy happiness. If you have done bad, you bear that sorrow. So this is a fine technique. Morning you get up, you just say, oh Lord, this body mind has woken up, which has been created by the Purusha and the Prakriti, and now you use it for whatever you feel justifiable. I am completely surrendering. I am only a witness to this now. I am not doing anything. You use it in whatever way you want. You are an avyakta, unmanifest. Now this body and mind is manifest. So you, being in this body and mind, you use it. And when a person reaches that stage in life, a sadhaka, yogi, he is like, he's something like, you can call him like, let's say like a jaggery or a sugar candy, which is full of dispassion because that kartaship has gone. And as you crush a candy or jaggery, or you bite it, you lick it, you break it, it will always give only sweetness. It will never have a bad taste. That will be the nature of a vairagi. And a situation was there where there was a great sannyasi, a yogi, and his followers who were benefited by this vairagi and yogi, they one day came to this vairagi and said, we want to felicitate you as the great Tyagamurti. Tyagamurti means the one who has given up everything. He has dispassionately given up things. So then the yogi says, what have I given up? Then all the shishyas, they say, you have given up all the bhoga vastu, this world, its comforts, and you're not enjoying anything. This vairagi and yogi says, oh my, you're all badly mistaken. You know what is my situation? I am established in the highest joy and bliss, which is the supreme most. Actually, you all are great Tyagis who have given up such great joy and bliss, which is right there within you, and you all are lost in this world with these paltry pleasures. So the great Tyagamurtis are you people, not me. So you could understand the contrast. So here one thing we should all note is that a vairagi is not only that who sleeps under a tree or wears a deer skin or a torn cloth, etc., etc. But in the true essence, Vairagi is one who has got no desire, no craving, and no particular liking for any particular object, person, or situation in life. He is in the company of objects, persons, which come to him, and he accepts them gracefully. In some cases, because of his prarabdha punya, a vairagi can get comforts also in life. Like if we are practicing vairagya, we may have all the comforts. Like, don't we see great sadhus, sannyasis? They are staying in posh places, they are going in luxurious cars. So, here, what is the reason for that? It is they are in the state of mind, and that situation does not matter them. Whether you sleep on a rock or you sleep on the most comfortable bed, they are absolutely okay because they don't have any preferences. And if at all anybody, a vairagi, has got a comfortable bed or a luxurious car or various other comforts in life, it is nothing but because of his sukha prarabdha. To his account or his prarabdha, he had to experience comfort. So, not necessarily vairagya means one should be in an uncomfortable position. No. Only thing is, whether it is there or not there, it should not affect him. That's all. This is the crux what we need to understand. Once we get such kind of intricate understanding, then it becomes absolutely clear for us that whether we are moving in the right direction or not. Sarva parigraha bhoga tyagaha. Anything which is concerned to us is about, again, two major things. One is our sambandha, relationship, and second is sangraha, accumulation. And our mind, which is like a donkey, it carries this load of ego all along. And what is this? To anything you will relate. My relationship with that person, and I have got so and so, which means I was born in such a family, my parents are so and so. If you have got anything to boast about, and I have this, I have that, I studied in so and so place, you boast about so many things. A virakta is one who is not bothered about his past or his future, nor is interested in the past or future of anybody else. So here, train your mind never to get into the past or future. That is very important, because the moment you are in the past or future, you are in the grip of raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha means liking and disliking. And the one who lives in this state of raga and dvesha, liking, disliking, is like a sansari. And one who lives with viveka shakti, that discrimination, is a true sadhak. And one who has surrendered to the Lord, of course, is a bhakta. So we all have to aim at becoming a sadhak and a bhakta, which means you should have, as a sadhak, jnana and vairagya, and as a bhakta, you should have that nature of surrender. And when all these three come together, a perfect alliance to merge with the Lord. So neither think of the past nor of the future. Be ever present Experience that divine bliss within yourself. And whatever is coming to this body and mind created by this Prakriti and Purusha as per its Prarabdha karma, and you are nothing but an observer. Come out of that doership. Come out of that ownership of this body and mind and see for yourself how happiness immediately sets in you. The moment you say, I am not this person, you are on the banks of happiness. And the moment you say, I am this person experiencing these problems, you are drowned in that ocean. So this is nothing but the technique given over here, and one has to cultivate, practice, and revisit again and again, and see for oneself as to where he's moving forward. Okay. So now we'll move on to Sri Vishnu Sahasranama. We'll take up verse 10. Today we are studying Vyalaha and Pratyayaha. Okay. So first let's read the shloka number 10 of the Sri Vishnu Sahasranama. Suresha Sharanam Sharma Vishwareta Praja Bhavaha Ahas Samvatsaro Vyalaha Pratyaya Sarvadarshanaha. Vyalaha. Okay. Now here, as per the dictionary, Vyalaha means like an intoxicated elephant, or like a hissing serpent, or you can also compare it to a ferocious tiger which is just about to attack its prey. This is the dictionary meaning, but nothing to be worried about all this. Here, Vyalaha in the context of the Lord is bifurcated to these three simple letters V, A and L, which means the one who has the power to remove all the defects, negativity of a jiva. During the time of dissolution, each and every organism in this creation, it all merges back into him. At the outset, you may feel that a dissolution is something which is very painful or a horrendous thing which is happening, but it is not the case. Even in this particular situation, the Lord, with all his love and affection, he takes each and every jiva back into himself so effortlessly, like as one goes to sleep. And in that state, what he does, after having taken this particular soul into dissolution, he gives that soul rest. And again, at one point of time, He recreates. And during that time, each and every jiva, it comes back into taking birth again, and that is again done with love again. So, in this process of creation, dissolution, and again creation, this Lord who has got this tremendous power to do this, he gets the title as Vyalaha. And the next one, Pratyayaha. One whose very nature is knowledge, that the Supreme is knowledge, absolute, and is very well known. It is in the light of consciousness that all knowledges are possible. Knowledge of a thing is the awareness of its nature, and awareness is knowledge. Like as we in deep sleep, we are not aware, so there is no knowledge about the things which are happening around us, isn't it? So since the Supreme is the one awareness everywhere, all knowledges spring from the Supreme Self. Hence he is called the pure knowledge. Consciousness is Brahman, which is one of the Mahavakyas of the Aitareya Upanishad, Prajnanam Brahma. So because of this quality, the Lord gets this name as Pratyayaha. So to such a great divine Lord, we offer our humble salutations. Now let's read the Dhanvantari mantra 3 times. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarva Bhaya Vinashaya Sarva Roga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarva Bhaya Vinashaya Sarva Roga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahasudarshanaya Vasudevaya Dhanvantaraye Amrutakalashahastaya Sarva Bhaya Vinashaya Sarva Roga Nivaranaya Trailokyapataye Trailokyanidhaye Shri Mahavishnu Swarupa Shri Dhanvantari Swarupa Shri 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 Aushadha Chakra Narayanaya Swaha. To the Lord of Dhanvantari, the Lord of Health, we offer our humble salutations. Now let's do our Sakshatkara Siddhi Yoga Dhyana. All of you, please be comfortably seated. If any part of your body is uncomfortable, please relax that part of the body. Make it comfortable. Sit straight and erect, but in a relaxed position. Head, neck and spine in a straight line. Your eyes gently closed. Have a smile on your face. Ensure your forehead, face, neck, and shoulders are completely relaxed. Let's take a few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale as deep as you can. Now, level 1, Antarika Drishyanuvid Savikalpa Samadhi. Internal, by observation, with thought meditation. Observe your mind as a pure witness, without the sense of doership. Observe your mind. Should there be any thought, allow the thought to just pass away. You're just a witness to the thoughts which flow in the mind. Now the second level, Antarika Shabdanuvit Savikalpa Samadhi. Internal, sound based with thought meditation. Now, here we are going to use, in terms of Shabda, sound, the holy and sacred mantra Soham. So, focusing on this mantra is you're using the Jnana Shakti and aligning it with your breath is the Kriya Shakti. When Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti are aligned, you are in the present moment. So, being in the present moment, you have completely dropped your mind and you're out of the grip of Maya. So, let's practice this. When I say so, you breathe in, and when I say hum, breathe out. So so Now mentally keep chanting this Soham in your mind and continue your meditation. Soham means I and you are one and the same. Now the Supreme Self which is within as pure consciousness and the sense of I, the Aham Bhava, they both are nothing but one and the same. Which essentially means there is one and only Supreme Consciousness. And there is no individuality at all. It is an illusion. Keep chanting Sho Soham. Level 3. We will not be taking the divine names over here, but we continue on this Soham meditation. Be in the present moment. Drop your mind. And be completely absorbed in the awareness. Now let's slowly slip into the level 4. Antarika Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Internal, no thoughts meditation. You have now dropped your mind completely and you are in that pure awareness which is right there within your body. Just be in that experience. There is nothing to do, nothing to know. Just be. Now slowly bring your attention to the tip of your nose and observe the breath going in and out. Shwasa Vikshana. Observe your inhalation and exhalation. Become aware of your body and mind. Become aware of your surroundings and the place where you are seated. Slowly rub your palms. Place them on your eyes and face. Feel the warmth. Gently and lovingly open your eyes. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Together we offer today's Jnana Yajna at the lotus feet of the Lord to seek His grace, mercy and blessings. Our humble salutations to the entire Guru Parampara. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Idam Namama. Om Tat Sat. I thank you, one and all, for being a part of this wonderful journey. Till we meet again, please keep doing your sadhana, meditation. Om Tat Sat. Hari Om. Namaskar.
Jayam Srimati Rupamajasram Geyam Geeta Namasahasram Jayam Srimati Rupamajasram Geyam Sajam गुरुचरणाम्बुज निर्भरभक्तः संसारचिरान्मुक्तः गुरुचरणाम्बुज निर्भरभक्तः संसारचिरान्मुक्तः सेन्द्रियमानस नियमादेवं सेन्द्रियमानस नियमादेवं द्रक्ष्यसि निज हृदयसंदेवं द्रक्ष्यसि निज हृदयसंदेवं भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले सम्प्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहि नहि रक्षति दुःकृत्करणे नहि नहि रक्षति दुःकृत्करणे भज गोविन्दं भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते